What's good, YouTube? Roshad Lamar here. So I just saw Wonder Woman yesterday. I got some thoughts to get out. Gonna do a quick movie review. At least I hope quick. Could be a little long-winded sometimes. Some of y'all know. But I'm gonna get my thoughts out on this. So I saw the movie. I'm gonna tell you right now. Some of you all, if you're like a big comic nerd and stuff, then I could already tell you right now you're probably not gonna like my review. So it's you've been warned. Take it how you like. But this movie, I'm gonna start off by saying that I really enjoyed this movie. So I could tell by a lot of the trailers the type of movie that it was gonna be. Knew it was gonna be like a lot of story-driven stuff. I wasn't sure what else. It was kind of a lot of questions I had, but I could tell just based off the fact that Steve from the previous movie was back in the movie. I could tell that there was going to be some craziness going on with the story, and I was actually looking forward to it being like different from a lot of the other movies. I've heard a couple folks, got the review out really quick, and they were saying they didn't like the movie for a lot of different reasons. I'll touch on that briefly, but I want to just start by saying that I enjoyed the movie.
You what?
The story basically involves the main character, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. She's like working in this laboratory or museum, something along those lines, and she's working with this other character named Barbara. So Barbara's like this really timid and really low confidence, low self-esteem chick, and she just can't seem to find her place in the world. Like, at the very beginning, she literally drops papers all over the ground, and some guy's walking past, and she says hello, and he just kind of looks at her and keeps going. It's like really painfully awkward. Nobody's paying attention to her, basically. So it kind of sucks. Just the skin that she's in just kind of sucks. She befriends Diana, and they kind of become just buddies, and they find this stone is supposed to be studied, but apparently this isn't just some stone. It almost looks like something from if anyone remembers, like old school, one of the little stones from the aggro crag on like the gut shows from Nickelodeon. It kind of reminds me of something like that back from the 90s. But anyway, so this stone apparently has the power to grant wishes. So what ends up transpiring is they don't know that it actually can grant wishes, but it does. And long story short, some things that they wish for, without spoiling the movie, some things that they wish for end up becoming true. I will have a spoiler section because in order to really assess this movie, I gotta talk about spoilers, but I'll tell you when I get to that. And you can skip over it or however I'm gonna do it. There is another guy in the movie, Maxwell Lord. Is kind of like the main villain of the movie, and every superhero film has to have one, right? So Maxwell Lord, he really seems like kind of a nice dude, a little shisty, very used car salesman type of guy. He just can't get his business off the ground, and nobody has faith in him. And his son is there, he's saying like, Daddy, you're not a loser, and and he just really wants to be successful, and he's willing to do anything to achieve it. Finds his way to the stone, gets it, and he starts being able to grant to have all these wishes granted, basically. Pretty much everything that he wants, he ends up getting, and it becomes a big problem because there's costs associated with it. It becomes a big problem. Overall, I really enjoyed the story because I feel like it was something different. There was a lot of moments that were kind of slow. Like toward the beginning, I felt like it was very slow. Like there was a lot of things were important that were happening. So they weren't not relevant stuff. It was relevant stuff. But it just felt like it was a little slow, and it kind of took a while to get going. Once it did, it felt like it paid off for me because everything really made sense. That's a pet peeve at least for myself, is when shit just doesn't make sense at all, then I just can't get with it. When there's just too many unanswered questions, too many things that don't make sense. Everything, for the most part, made sense to me, at least as far as my own personal thought process could go. So, there's a lot to do with the character Barbara that is really pretty much a big spoiler. I think unless you saw like the one of the trailers to kind of finds out like what goes on with that character and what their relevance is. But it definitely pretty much revolves around Wonder Woman as Diana, and is her name, her real name. Wonder Woman is, I guess, what they just call her. But Diana and Steve finds his way back. If you couldn't have guessed by now, basically because of the stone, she comes in contact with it, and she ends up, inadvertently bringing him back. So a big part of the story there. Small criticism, or maybe big criticism, he didn't really play that much of a vital role, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. As far as how the story goes, he was relevant to the main overall plot, which I'll kind of cover as best I can without spoiling it. But for the most part, he was kind of like a sidekick. He kind of helped her out in like a lot of the fights and stuff. And he was kind of like her emotional backup, her love interest, things like that. So if anyone like just hates stereotypical love interest type stuff, then yeah, they'll definitely have issues with this movie. I'm the type of guy, I love that sort of stuff. So it depends on if it's good. And I think that it was very well done. They really kind of pulled at your heartstrings, had you emotionally invested, because like at the very beginning of the movie, she's really torn and hurt by the fact that her love interest isn't around anymore. She's having flashbacks, dreams, and she's just kind of struggling with not just the fact, like it's never just a moment when someone passes, it's like after. You know what I mean? So it's like trying to go on with life without that person being there. It can be tough. I've seen that expressed in a lot of different media. They do it in like video games and movies, and people write songs about it, and people have to deal with it in real life all the time. So they expressed that really well. She just was really struggling with the only person who she was really close to no longer being around. So obviously having him come back, as anyone who's seen any trailers will know, he's in all of them. It really like totally brightened up her mood and everything, and she's just like a happier person. She seemed like kind of like a little bitter early on in the movie, but I really like the way that everything comes full circle. The reason that all the characters are the way that they are makes sense. Like the loser Maxwell Lord, he's been struggling so hard. He finally finds a way to be successful, and of course he abuses it like a lot of people would do if they got that level of power. The ability to pretty much have any wish granted is pretty crazy ability. But of course, it's a superhero movie, so they're going to overcome it somehow, right? But I think I'm going to go ahead and skip to the spoilers so I can really get a little bit more in depth. So go ahead and skip ahead. There'll be a timestamp so you can see that. So I really like the way that they developed a lot of the characters. The character Barbara, she ends up becoming one of the bad guys. So she wishes that she can be like Diana, and she ends up getting like all of her strength and abilities as well, which to be honest with you, I really didn't expect. I didn't really take a whole lot of time trying to run all these predictions and think everything through. I just kind of accepted the movie for what it was at the time. And I knew that I saw that she was getting more confident, and I saw that more people were noticing her, because all that stuff kind of happened immediately. Like it was literally overnight. Like she fell asleep overnight. Like she fell asleep at the office, and then the next day, people immediately noticed her, and she was more confident. And it's like her hair was done, I think, a little bit better than it was. It was a lot of like weird little stuff, but very noticeable. So again, some people saw some of these moments as like kind of slow. They kind of didn't really care about this stuff, but I did. So I liked it because it really developed and kind of gave you more of a reason to actually care about what was happening. So when you got to like a lot of the action, you actually felt like it was relevant and it made sense, because eventually Wonder Woman's trying to stop Max Lord. Barbara has a problem with it. Maybe I'll just call her Barb. Barbara's a little long. I think they call her Barb in the movie. But she has a problem with it, and she's like, oh, hell nah, you ain't about to take, like, she's like, I look good. I got all these men coming after me. I got all these powers and shit. There's even a moment in the movie that I think is critical, and I'm glad that they put it in there. Closer to the beginning, Barb she's basically like attacked by some guy on the street. She's walking down the street and he starts, doing all this following her shit, like, all that weird shit. He's trying to say hello. I don't know if anybody's ever walked down the street and had some weird dude. I mean, it even happens to guys, so it's not just like a women thing, but women are more vulnerable to being physically attacked, obviously. So she was walking down the street and some guy's like, hey, I forget exactly what he says, and she just kind of tries to ignore him, and he starts like following her, and eventually he grabs her, and she's totally helpless basically, and of course Diana saves her. That's early in the movie. Then later on, she has Barb has Wonder Woman's powers basically because of the wish that she made. And she sees that same guy again. She's walking down the same street, sees the same guy says something, because I guess he just talks to everybody who passes by. And so Barb sees the same guy, he says something again, and she literally stops and she's like, wait a minute, like, I got some powers now. Let me see if this bitch like wants to talk shit and try to run up on me again. Of course he does. He does, and he's like, oh yeah, hey, I remember you. He's like, let's finish what we started last time. And she's like, let's, and she starts kicking his ass, and you can really get a feeling for her kind of starting to turn into like this more kind of like ruthless person and kind of abusing her powers, because pretty much after the first hit, the dude's like had enough, but she like hits him like a few times and sends him like flying. And for anybody who knows, the average person might die from like even a single one of these hits, but this dude takes several of them. And at one point she even kicks him in the face. There's like these little dots flying out, and I'm pretty sure that was his teeth that were flying out, because she kicks him square in the face, like in his mouth it looks like. And I was like, damn, man. Of course this is like I think it's PG or PG-13 or something, so no, they don't show anything graphic or anything, but I was like, man, I could tell. I was like, man, she's really lost it, because like, dude's in pain. He's not even responding anymore. She just keeps beating the crap out of him. And there's even like a guy who she was nice to, it's like a homeless guy. He sees this and he's like, hey, what are you doing? He's like, this can't be the same nice little old person who used to work at the, studying rocks and shit, right? Who used to, she used to pass by and say hello all casually and cordially, but now she's beating the heck out of some dude on the street, even if he is a scumbag, she just tells him to mind his business, and I'm like, oh, so you're gonna be mean to, now you're gonna be mean to your friends too? And of course she turns on Diana, and they end up fighting later, and Wonder Woman's kind of losing her powers, because you don't know that the crutch or the issue or the problem with this stone is that you lose your most valuable, whatever's most valuable to you, you lose. So you get whatever you wish, but you lose whatever is most valuable to you. So to Diana, I guess, is her powers, so she happens to start losing her powers. So of course Barb fights with Diana and beats the hell out of her. And on top of that, it also makes a lot of sense because Barb actually meets up with Max and starts like making out with him. And earlier in the movie, they specifically stated that Barb like quickly falls in love with guys like all the time and stuff. So she clearly becomes easily obsessed. And when you got somebody who's that powerful and somebody who she's just recently made out with and doesn't really have anyone else, I guess, it makes sense that she would, kind of just jump on board the bandwagon. And, now she's all powerful and she's like, she wants the power, she likes it. And they found out that they have to give it up. She's like, oh hell no, this ain't going down. Like, I'm keeping this. Like, I got people noticing me and shit.
Whatever, I'll do what I want.
You know, I'm powerful. I'm able to whip people's ass. Like, anybody step to me on the street, that's it. That's over with, right? So, but yeah, like, I thought it was really worthwhile. The way that everything went down. I appreciated the story narrative, the action scenes. This is, I think, what the issue that most people had is that there wasn't really that many action scenes. I agree that there wasn't that many. I did feel like all the ones that they had were really good and very impactful. So I liked all of them. I liked that there was like a little set piece with like the fireworks with Diana and Steve. They had some great moments, even though he didn't really do that much for the story. The main thing that he did for the story was that Diana had to give him up. And I realized early on in the movie that she was gonna have to do that because of the way that he came back. I thought that maybe he was actually gonna be alive for real, but he wasn't. He came back because of the stone. And you know, as soon as I realized that that's what the movie was gonna be about, is the stone and the powers it had, I knew that he wasn't gonna stick around. And the way that they built up her love story and the way she was kind of longing for him and stuff, I knew that it was going to be like, you know, just really kind of almost gut-wrenching to realize that she was going to have to give him up again. So, you know, what's worse than going through that once, going through it again. You know, and this time she had to do it willingly as opposed to not being her choice in the first movie. Second movie, it was her choice, and she basically did it to save the world. But the moment that they had with the fireworks and whatnot, that was a pretty breathtaking moment. I almost wish, you know, I probably wouldn't want to do that because it seems like a little dangerous, obviously. But I feel like if there was a safe way to do it, I'd absolutely love to do something like that. They just literally just flew straight through the fireworks, and it was a really amazing scene. I don't know how the hell they thought of that, but it was a great scene to do. Even if we saw it in like the commercials and stuff, it was definitely better in the movie. It was longer. It was a good moment. And I think that even if I think he maybe could have played a bigger role somewhere in the movie besides kind of, you know, helping her in fights like as her sidekick and stuff, I do think that he played a critical role in the end because, you know, without her giving him up, then the world couldn't be saved, right? So at the end, everybody has to give up, you know, everything that they wish for. I do think that that's a tad unrealistic because there's no way in hell that that would ever happen. And that's one of the things I'm kind of unclear about is whether or not that, did everybody actually give up everything, or did Max give up everything? You know, the bad guy, or, you know, did he give it up and then that stopped everything? Because that's what kind of would have seemed like happened, but they also showed other people giving up their wishes. So it's not like totally clear on like what causes what. So I don't freaking know for sure, to be honest. But either way, I still enjoyed it. Trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. I got some notes up on the screen here. So yeah, there was a couple fight scenes, like one at the mall, like toward the beginning. This crazy car chase I thought was awesome. They actually make it to the White House, which is like pretty much the most awesome part of the movie. It's not even the end of the movie. And of course the ending fights, she finally faces off against Barb in one last confrontation, and somehow defeats Barb, even though Barb is supposed to be stronger than her at this point, because the wish is supposed to make Barb the strongest. Apparently this stone has limitations because it doesn't work. Wonder Woman is still stronger than her and manages to beat her. But yeah, like I thought that all the fights were pretty good. I think that at the end when she fought with Barb is a little dark, and dark scenes are always kind of hard to see. So I think you can do them, but I think it should be brightened up, or there should be some added additional visual flair to kind of make it a little bit better. You know, at this point we're going on like about 20 minutes, so I'm gonna just kind of jump into the score real quick and a quick final summary. So I'm gonna say overall, I really enjoyed this movie. Again, some people will not like it. I already know some of my friends don't like it. I really love the movie. So if you're like big comic nerd, looking for like the next Avengers or something, then this ain't it. Okay, so I love those types of movies too. But one of the reasons I was actually most excited for this movie is because I could tell that it wasn't gonna be like all the other movies that we've seen, like in the Marvel universe, for example. It didn't even look in the trailers like it was going to be like the first Wonder Woman, and it wasn't. So the first Wonder Woman was a little different than this one, but I also feel like it was pretty similar. I mean, they had Steve back from the first one, and that was her love interest in the first one. And just in this movie, she like loves him more in this movie. And I do think that her scenes of being like more of like a badass and just kind of taking on the world are more prominent in the first movie. But the story, I think, makes a lot more sense in this movie. At least that's how I feel as of today. So overall, I'm going to give it a pretty damn high score. I give it a 9 out of 10. For me, it was an incredible movie. I'd love to see this movie again. I went to see it in theaters. Probably wouldn't go back and see it in theaters, but I don't go see anything in theaters more than once anyway. But I really enjoyed the movie. So if you're okay with there being like a lot of romance and a lot of kind of story and narrative driven plot and less action, I feel like the average person will really love the movie. That's my view. If you're looking for something more action heavy, you don't really care about romance, you don't care about Diane and Steve, you kind of just were looking for something different, then something more along the lines of like the Marvel movies or something, then you're probably not going to enjoy this movie as much. I love deep story driven stuff, so I really love the movie, so it gets a 9 from me. So straight up 9 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think. If you disagree, feel free to let me know. Let me know in the comments. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. I already know that some people are gonna be a little upset for me saying I liked it this much, but I'd be curious to know additional thoughts. I didn't read, or I tried to avoid everything I possibly could. I just so happened to be reading something else, and I started seeing a couple other opinions on stuff. So I was trying to get this review out before all of that stuff comes through. I really enjoyed the movie. Let me know what y'all think. This has been Roshad Lamar. Appreciate y'all checking me out. Catch you next time. Roshad Lamar out.